Hello and welcome. I am Sai, and today I am going to share with you why I am deleting Facebook and Twitter. And I am so excited about this. It's unbelievable, really. While there will be some things I will miss, specifically the good people that I have connected with on those platforms, but my intention is to make it so that I still stay in touch with those people that care and that want to stay in touch with me. So I'm going to do the best I can to do that. And that being said, if you want to private message me, you have a little bit of time before I delete this whole account to let me know what your contact information is. So you can do that by private messaging me. Doing this, I want to state up front that I am not against social media. I am not against technology. I am pro-science, and I'll go into that a little bit. But I do have some notes here, and I am going to share with you with these notes so that I can kind of keep on track and keep this video shorter than longer. But yeah, I'm excited. So I want to get started here with why I am deleting both Facebook and Twitter. So the first reason is these platforms are actively against free speech. They censor and ban people if what they say doesn't fit the mainstream narrative. I just can't put up with that anymore. Many voices have been censored. I have been censored a lot. I'm tired of that, and I'll go into more detail about this. They even send bots and sometimes paid people to your conversations to shame you and to try to make you conform to a certain way of thinking. And I've had this happen with me where people have been sent to me very specifically to try and discredit me and to make me look like I don't know what I'm talking about. And what you will find with these bots or these paid people is that they're never interested in science. They're never interested in evidence. The only thing that they are sent to do is to discredit you, and they'll do that any way that they can, and they'll ignore any evidence you have about what you're saying. They won't even look at it. They're solely there to discredit you. And that's just not fun to interact with these bots or these people that are paid to do this to you. I have no interest in it. I'm not going to do it anymore. They have also colluded to ban certain people entirely from the internet. So Facebook and Twitter, along with other platforms that I'm not currently going to mention and I'm not necessarily going to get rid of right now, have completely colluded and acted together to basically try and completely delete some people's voices off the internet. I am not going to name any names right now because if I start to name names, you might already have a bias based upon what you have heard about these people because the media that you are allowed to listen to tries to discredit them and to make you feel ashamed for having any kind of interest in them, and especially any kind of communication or any kind of ideas that are associated with them at all. They want you to believe that the people that they ban are literally the worst people you could possibly imagine, and they put them all into a specific box. And it's usually very biased to one side, meaning that I don't consider myself liberal or conservative or left or right. But the truth is, you're not allowed to have a conservative view if it's against what they want you to be thinking. So that's another good reason that I'm leaving them. They collect information about you to sell to others. And that's not the end of what I have to say about that, but that's true. The information can also potentially be used against you in multiple ways. And one way is through a social credit system. And so this is something that has been in development in certain places in the world, and it's pretty well known that China is at the forefront of this. And this is not anything against China, but I am specifically against communism. It's never worked. It never will work. There is no form of it that is okay. And This social credit system is a very communistic system, but they can use it, the information about you, to basically box you in through your associations and through your behavior that they approve of or don't approve of, and give you a score. And that score will determine what you're allowed to do. In fact, whether or not you're even allowed to have a social media account. In some cases, whether or not you're allowed to use certain payment providers or payment systems online. It gets pretty serious, and some people have been completely banned from certain payment processors online because their viewpoints don't go along with the people that are basically in charge of the media or the main media. If they don't completely ban you for saying things they don't want you to say, they shadow ban you, which can limit your reach so extremely that it's basically like you don't have a voice anymore. So that is something that I've experienced on a mass scale pretty much across almost all platforms. And what that means is that when I post something, people are discouraged from looking at it. And I have even been warned by these platforms that if I post this, then they're going to limit my reach. But the way that they do it is pretty interesting. For example, my son discovered that when he tried to view a post from me once, that they warned that my channel has adult content. Just think about what people think about when they think about adult content. My Facebook and Twitter are not associated with any kind of adult content, just real conversation that shows truth, and that's what they're against. So it's one of the reasons that I'm going to be leaving them. And just to give you an idea of how this works, I've been banned even from being able to advertise on Facebook, which I really haven't used in a long time anyway, but they banned me for 60 days from advertising at least once. They banned me from posting several times, and I appealed every time, and a couple times they let me back on. But it's sometimes moderators that are banning you, but it's mostly just their algorithm. They have certain keywords and phrases and also recognition of videos and things like that, that if you say certain things or if you post certain things or clips of videos, you're automatically going to be censored, and they're going to put warnings across your videos. And for me, what this has meant that on Facebook, even when I am seen, it's usually because people come to my Facebook page to see what's going on, or it's something that's allowed to be seen. But there are some videos that are very important ones, and they literally have no likes, no comments on them, and I know for a fact that these ones would be the ones that would be the most important for people to see. So they're just basically not allowed to see these. And of course they put warnings on them so that if somebody who doesn't know me goes and tries to see one, they're going to try and say that I've been fact checked and there's something wrong with my video, and those fact checks are never accurate. They're not real. They're basically just censorship. They're opinions, as Mark Zuckerberg recently said, not actual evidence against what I'm posting. Also, Twitter basically suspended my account indefinitely, and they allowed me to appeal it, but they also said that I could just remove one tweet, and if I removed that one tweet, then they would allow my account to be back up. But I didn't want to remove my tweet because I felt like it needed to be there, and I'm not going to censor myself for any of these platforms. But when I appealed it, it's been in appeal since August, and it is now next year, 2022. So since August of 2021, it's been an appeal. I went and reappealed. They never even looked at it. So they just left me indefinitely without a Twitter account, which is great because it made me realize how little I like Twitter and how little I need to use it anyway. And I could get around it, and I'll tell you about that in a second. Whether I'm battling trolls, bots, or real people with polarized perceptions, it seems like I generally feel worse after using Facebook and Twitter. And there are the exceptions with the good people and with people who are at least like-minded enough that we can see eye to eye or that we can understand each other. But usually I end up leaving these platforms feeling worse. And the arrogance of these platforms is reason enough to leave them. They literally think they can completely censor reality, and that we'll return and willingly give them all of our private life details to be used against us. that's the main reason I'm leaving these platforms. It's time to participate in other platforms that allow voices to be expressed. And I mean all voices, even voices that are against mine. But you got to have a wide range of voices to hear. If you're only hearing one narrow-minded, very, very limited idea about the way things are, you're obviously not going to be able to see clearly. And that's what they've done. I believe it's time to get away from media that represents tyranny and censorship, and these two platforms, Facebook and Twitter, obviously represent those things. And I recommend that you start your own website so it can't be deleted or taken away when you say something that isn't part of the narrative they want you to go along with. And as I said, I'm not against social media, and I'm pro-science. I love new technologies that can enhance life and even make it better. The problem with Facebook and Twitter is that they want everyone to go along with specific and limited scientific and political views of a select few, and they want you to ignore the greater scientific and political views of those that oppose the ones they want you to see. And I'm probably preaching to the choir with this video, but basically the ones that they want you to see are a very narrow and limited group of people. If you actually look at doctors across the board and scientists across the board, there are literally thousands and thousands, I mean, maybe hundreds of thousands of actual voices online that do not believe that things should be handled the way that they're handling them in the world right now. But those voices are all censored, they're all banned, and they go to alternative platforms as a result. And those platforms are another thing besides a website that maybe you could participate in. And I'll just go ahead and say a couple of them are Rumble and BitChute. Gab is another place that I think is good just because you can actually express yourself without getting deleted and censored. And that might not always be the case, but it is for now. So those are places that you can participate with other people. And I guess Telegram is a good one too. It's a little different than other social media groups. I'm not sure if I like it as much because you have to have an actual app to be on it. But hey, you can hear some truth on there. So will I ever return to either of these communities? And the answer is maybe if they are turned into public utilities that aren't allowed to censor voices, or some version of that. If they are basically, if some kind of free speech act is enacted online that makes it so these platforms can't censor voices, then maybe I will return to them. And I will also keep a new Twitter account, which I will never post on or comment on. I'll use it specifically to get information to use for goodness and to destroy those that want to destroy us. So yes, I'm going to have, which I already have gotten, a Twitter account which I will not post anything on. And I probably won't even use it very often, but it is nice to be able to go to a few trusted sources on there and get information that is helpful for other people to hear so that I can use them in videos like this, for example. And I will also use the people who are anti-freedom, anti-free speech, basically anti-life. I'll use their information from Twitter against them. So I think this pretty much sums it up. I'm going to miss you people that post your nice pictures and that have good things to say and that have engaged with me in a nice way on Facebook and Twitter. And that's about all I'm going to miss from there. So I hope that you will come and find me on YouTube at Things Very Good or Healthy Fit Self. If you search Psy and Health, you'll probably find me. And yeah, that's what I'm going to keep going right now. I'll also be on other places like Rumble with a different channel. And for example, I have a channel on Rumble called SciDog right now. I also have Things Very Good on BitChute. I'm not currently posting a lot on those places, but I will continue to post on those places because we need to have these alternative platforms so that these big companies don't think that they can just have a monopoly and that we'll just keep using them when they're basically using everything that they can against us. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe if you did, and I will look forward to seeing you in the next video.
I won't look back when you're around. I won't think twice when you're gone. Don't hesitate to